So the topic is database security and authorization. In this first we will be dealing with the database security. So as we all know what is a database. Database is nothing but the way we can store the data and retrieve the data from a database. Database is just like a storage file from where we can retrieve the data. So here in database management system, data security isn't just about one password, but it is a multi-layer defense system. So database is nothing but a one password which will be giving to the database to protect our data. But backend behind the DBMS is a multi-layer defense system which will be working to protect our passwords and mail IDs, card information, everything. Since the database often store the sensitive information of an organization like passwords, credit card informations and so many sensitive informations, so the database management system must provide the specific tools to keep our data safe from the unauthorized person to log in into their systems. So why the database security matters? There are some critical ways like centralized storage, confidentiality, data integrity. So centralized storage is nothing but a database are the brain of the most organizations holding all the critical information which makes a prime target for attacks. So, and next is confidentiality to ensure that only authorized individuals can access and view the sensitive informations. So all we are giving the card informations and everything which are sensitive information which will be storing into our database management system. So it is the responsibility of the database management system to provide a confidentiality security for the users to ensure that the authorized person, the individual person who have the authorization to access and the view of that sensitive information is known as the confidentiality. And next is the data integrity. It ensures that the data remains accurate, complete and consistent throughout its entire life once the data is stored. If we are storing one data password in the database management system, it should be same as long as we will be retrieving the data, accessing the data every time entire life. And imagine a bank's database containing all the customers' numbers, balance, and the transaction histories. If it is leaked, the financial world could face a disaster. It is nothing but an example of a bank management system where all the customers' account number, balances, and transaction histories will be storing in the database. If that all the sensitive data will be leaked, and what the use of database security. So here in crucial three ways how it is showing that the database security how it is useful. Here, in DBMS, ensuring data security and proper authentication is crucial to protect sensitive information and maintain data integrity. Data integrity is nothing but providing the some security to our data which is stored in our database. Because of this, user authentication and authorization are crucial aspects of database security. Here they are the two crucial aspects, which is user authentication and user authorization, which will be dealing to maintain our data integrity to protect sensitive information in our database management system. So here first we will be dealing with the user authentication. So here as we can see here we are login in some ways, and it will be logged and it will be saved in our database management system. This process will be dealing how the data will be storing in the database management system. Here authorization verifies the identity of users attempting to access the database. It ensures that only legal or authorized user with valid credentials are allowed to access. Here user authentication is nothing but it verifies the person who have the login password which have the crucial to a individual person to store their information which is sensitive to store in the database management system. They have the legal authorized user. They should have valid credentials to acquire the data which is already stored in the database management system, which is stored by that person only. So it should provide a legal authorized user which is valid credential. It is nothing but user authentication. And here user authentication methods are two ways: biometrics and username and password. So biometric is nothing but the user presses the finger on the scanner and waits for the system to grant access. Here in nowadays we are using for our phone lock prints, and here we feel if same person fingerprint is scanned, then only the phone will be open for, and it grant us access to open the phone applications. And next is username and passwords. The user is logged into the respective account whenever they provide the appropriate username and password. So like in gmail if you are logging in someone's account, we need to have the username and passwords. If the password is the correct and valid, then only the DBA provides the responsibility to, it is a DBA responsibility to access the database which is stored in the database management system. And here real time example, like we have discussed up to now, Gmail login. If we need to enter our username and password, when an employee login into the companies, they must enter their unique username and password, then only verifies their credential before guaranteeing the success. If the username enters the username and password correctly, then only it grants the access to that particular person. And next is user authorization. User authorization determines what authenticated users are permitted to do with the database. So now a user got a guarantee that they can access the data by entering their valid username and password. So how that they can be do changes with the uh, data which is already stored in the database. There are some ways they can create, they can insert, they can select, they can delete, or totally they can modify the data in some ways. So here is a real-time example. Here a user have a privilege to correct, insert, select, alter the data into the customer's table, but not to delete. So here authorization is giving the privilege to insert the data, selection the data, and to alter the data, but they are not giving to them to delete the data. So here if person having a privilege in a database but can delete anything on the database, they can view, they can admit, they can insert, they can select, they can alter, but they has no permission to delete that particular data. Here you can see in a image a example, like here delete option is denied for that particular person because it is not given a permission to that person to do any changes on a data which is stored in the database to delete that person.